Welcome to Cranfield University. My name is Toby Thompson. I'm Studio Director in the glorious Granville Turner Studios where we're joining you from today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days in what is a kind of glorious day. This is a live shot of Cranfield. I see a bit of blue there. I see a bit of red, which is a bit weird. We're going to be talking today for around 1 hour around the portfolio of apprenticeship programs in the School of Management, Cranfield School of Management. So if that's of interest to you, please stick around. And if you're watching the recording, great to have you watching that too. Please stick around also to the end of the recording to find out how to carry on the conversation with us. This session is interactive. I'm sure this is your maybe second or third Zoom meeting of the day, so you know where the Zoom text chat is. Please type any questions, comments, observations into the Zoom text chat at pretty much any time, and I'll do my best to relay that to the speakers that we have here. The speakers are no less than the Director and Deputy Director of the apprenticeship programs in the whole university here. Amazing people they are. And equally amazing, if not more amazing, two brilliant students, two apprenticeship students. So you'll have a chance to ask questions like, what's it really like studying for an apprenticeship here at Cranfield? So before we come on to that, I want to remind you of what an amazing place Cranfield University is. Gets me pumped up every time I see that video. Amazing. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We're in the presence of greatness here. Christina Goodman, Head Director of the Apprenticeship Portfolio, I'm assuming. Give me a nod.
Not quite, Toby, not quite.
Sir, lady.
Planning and operations lead in the Apprenticeships office, but we are joined by our deputy head, Sean, as well.
Fantastic. So really, if you have any questions around anything to do with apprenticeships, these are the people to ask. Let me just quickly introduce the panel if I can. We have on the left-hand side there Sean. Sean, give us a wave just to prove that you are real. There you go.
real.
You are real. I can prove it. I heard you. And then Libby and Paul. Libby, give us a wave. And then Paul. It's kind of who waves these days? I guess I wave. I'm old enough to wave at cameras. I do that. So Sean can answer, along with Christina, pretty much any questions around the apprenticeship portfolio that you have, that you're interested in with the School of Management. And Libby and Paul can give the real picture of what's it really like. Well, you've heard something from Sean, you've heard something from Christina. What's it really like? So that's where you have your chance to ask a question pretty much at any time. So get into the text chat. Maybe tell us where you are in the world, in the country. Put something in the text chat. We always like to hear where people are from that are joining us. And likewise, if you're watching the recording, please keep in contact with Cranfield. You've got, Christina, a bunch of slides, but before you go into your slides and telling us about the apprenticeship, tell us about yourself. How have you ended up working with these amazing people?
So I've been at Cranfield for just over 11 years.
Whoa.
And I absolutely love it. It's one of the best places to work. It's so supportive of that work-life balance. It's full of great people and there's always such exciting things going on. That's what's kept me here. I've had lots of different roles, but I've actually been in the apprenticeships team for, I think, around 6 years. So
Wow.
since we started the delivery of apprenticeships, which was back in late 2017.
I can think that far back.
Just
about.
And we were actually the first level 7 apprenticeship provider in the UK with our systems engineering apprenticeship.
Wow.
And so we've built this portfolio, part of which we'll be talking about today, so the School of Management specific portfolio, but we have such a range now of apprenticeships, and we've built our apprenticeship numbers up from, our first intake was around 65, and I think we're, edging towards that near 2,000 live apprentices at any one time. So it's a really exciting time, and the team is full of such great people, and that's what's kept me here.
Wow. I'm going to ask the dumb question. What is an apprenticeship and who is an apprentice? I know you've got some slides to talk us through that.
Yes, so hopefully my slides are showing there. So so what is an apprenticeship? That's a good question. So it's a program of study where somebody can still be in the workplace, you're still undertaking a full-time role or part-time, whilst learning new knowledge, skills and behaviours, upskilling yourself and applying that knowledge to your current role and sharing that with your colleagues and your further colleagues across the organisation. Tripping on my words already. So it's a chance for apprentices to advance their personal and career development and seek continuous improvement. So it's that lifelong learning piece. And it's absolutely fantastic because your employer is supporting you whilst you're on programme.
Seems too good to be true.
It almost is, isn't it? Almost is. So it's a mechanism to add value to the organisation as well, because they're not sending you off for 2 or 3 years to undertake a degree and then you come back and things have moved on within the organisation. You're applying those new knowledge, skills and behaviours right then and there.
You're in the thick of it.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it. You're helping there. You're giving your colleagues all this new knowledge that you've learned from Cranfield and you're applying it straight away in the workplace. You're also then taking what you've applied in the workplace back into the classroom and sharing it with your colleagues on programme.
That's special. But hard work by the sound of it. We're going to come on to that.
I think we've got some guests who can tell you just how hard it might be, but I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Brilliant. So who is an apprentice?
So who is an apprentice? An apprentice can be anyone. So there are certain requirements. So you have to have lived in the UK for 3 years prior to the start of your apprenticeship programme, and you have to be working for a company in a role that is supportive of the apprenticeship you're going to undertake.
In the UK or England?
In England, so at least 50% of your time must be spent in England.
Right.
So you might live on that border to Scotland, which would be very nice.
Very nice.
But you need to be spending 50% of that working time in England. So make sure you cross that border often enough. So what? Your question, who can be an apprentice?
Yeah,
anyone.
Literally
so,
anyone.
With Cranfield, obviously, all of our apprentices are over 18 because it's postgraduate study. Most of them, I think, kind of 98% work full-time. So the government consider full-time to be 30 hours or more per week. They are all in active roles, so they're undertaking study that is applicable to their role within the workplace.
Okay, great. Tell us more. Tell us more how I get on with the benefits of an apprenticeship.
So to be an apprentice as well, the other benefits are it's a paid job. You're getting your normal salary. And if you are a lower level apprentice, say level 2, there are apprenticeship wages. You don't work for free. So you're undertaking study, you're getting paid, and you're progressing all at the same time. So alongside the on-the-job training, apprentices spend at least 6 hours per week. We ask for a bit more at Cranfield because, you know, we like to work our apprentices hard, which we'll find out later.
At least 6?
At least 6
Up
hours.
to what is my question.
Probably more like 8 hours a week.
Right,
so
okay.
equivalent to roughly 1 day on average
okay.
per week spent solely on the apprenticeship. So that might be learning in the work, learning on site with Cranfield or live online in this great studio. Or it might be looking at materials that have been provided by the course team to supplement that in the classroom learning, and then applying that in the workplace, gathering that evidence to show how you're developing on your apprenticeship programme. As I said before, you get your employer support, so they're paying for your apprenticeship. They're providing you with that time off to learn in the workplace, and in the classroom with Cranfield. You get ring-fenced time. So that ring-fenced time, it has to be provided. It's not time off in lieu. It's not holiday allowance.
Your
This
time
is
to study.
paid time provided
That's
in your
amazing.
contracted hours to spend
amazing.
studying with Cranfield and applying that.
So it hasn't got to be the same day every week.
No, it can
Just-
vary. It can be block study as well. So
Right.
one week you might do nothing at all, and then the next week you might do 3 days of study with Cranfield.
Right.
Then the next week you might apply some of that learning, maybe 3 or 4 hours over the week. Next week you might again apply application of 3 or 4 hours. Next week might be nothing. Then another study block with Cranfield.
Right.
Each course varies slightly, but they essentially is block release.
But you've got to keep a record, I guess, of the time that you do spend.
Yes, definitely,
Self-management.
definitely. Just to show that you are engaging with your apprenticeship
Right.
programme. Because
I'm
it's
with you.
government funded, the government require evidence that you are participating to enable those payments to continue. So we do ask that everybody records that off the job.
Okay.
So the best thing about an apprenticeship is you don't just get an apprenticeship certificate, you also get, in the cases of the School of Management apprenticeships, you get a degree as well. So that might be a postgraduate certificate, postgraduate diploma leading to a full master's qualification or a full master's qualification included. The majority of our apprentices are already current employees who are looking to upskill, so their employers have selected them within their organisations as somebody that they wish to upskill and take part in our apprenticeships. Oh, I think we've covered some of these benefits. Let's just make sure. So it is that hands-on learning. It isn't sitting in the classroom learning and then not being able to apply it. And I think that is the real difference and a real benefit of an apprenticeship, is that you're not learning something and then waiting such a long time to apply it. You're literally applying it the next working day, which benefits not only your experience as the apprentice, but that of your employer as well. There's lots of skill development, so we don't just learn from, we don't have Sage on stage at Cranfield. We expect our apprentices and learners to bring something to the classroom, to share their knowledge with their colleagues on their programme and then take that back into the workplace. And that certainly develops some of those behaviours required by the apprenticeship standards.
So if I'm at work and I have an issue that I need to solve in some fashion, I can bring that as part of the course?
Yeah. Yeah, and they have within all the courses. I'm sure our apprentices who are on the call with us will share with you. They often have WhatsApp groups, team chat groups, where they can share their experience. They can talk about what they've learning, and they can talk about what's happening in their workplace and work together on solutions.
There's got to be a catch.
There really isn't. Apart from it's hard work. I'm not going to lie, it's hard work.
There's a commitment required.
Yes, you're undertaking a full-time job.
Right.
You're also undertaking an apprenticeship and a degree combined.
It's a lot of work.
So not easy, but the outcome is certainly worth it.
Wow. Okay, tell us more.
We've just talked about these recognised awards, which is, so that's good timing. So as I said, you get that Cranfield degree. And you also get that apprenticeship certificate as well. And quite a lot of the endpoint assessment organisations are professional bodies in their own right, and they also offer an award as well for completion of the apprenticeship, and that's after the endpoint assessment. There's lots of opportunities. So I think one of the best things about apprenticeships is we offer such a variety at Cranfield, but not only whilst you're on programme do you get the learning in the classroom, when you apply it in the workplace, you might need to ask to diversify slightly. So your current role might not allow you to gain one of those knowledge, skills or behaviours, but you can work with your employee, with your line manager to talk about opportunities. Can you go on a short secondment? Can you join a different team for a project to obtain that knowledge, skill or behaviour that you need to evidence, and therefore widens your opportunities within your organisation. And that lifelong learning. Cranfield is all about lifelong learning. And I think one thing that I really want to cover, and we were talking about just before the webinar started, is that around 20% of our apprentices have never been to university before. This is their first experience, hopefully their best experience.
A good experience, I can say, yes.
So it is about, it doesn't matter if you left school at 16 and you really hated school and it wasn't for you, because school isn't for everyone. And you've gone into the workplace and that is really where you've thrived, you've really excelled, and you want to increase. And now is that time that to improve further and to progress, you need a degree. And the apprenticeship is such a good way to get that. So you can come in, we do ask for maths and English qualifications, not at the start of the apprenticeship programme, but by the end. So that is something to factor in. We will help and support you. If you didn't obtain those at 16, you have a great time, some of us were.
Understandable.
So that isn't a problem either. That is not something to worry about. It's not a barrier to starting. So once you're on programme, we will support you all the way. And that worry about maybe writing academic assignments, that shouldn't be a concern either. We have support here at Cranfield to make sure that you are happy, you're capable and you're ready to submit your first
You must
assignment.
have people that are worried about going back into higher education. It's not for me, I've never done it. Fear, you'll allay that fear, I'm assuming.
Yes, we have such great support. We try and prepare everyone as much as possible before they start. There's pre-programme work, and then when you start, there is a slow introduction. We don't expect you to submit an assignment within like 2 or 3 weeks of starting your apprenticeship programme. No, we're not that harsh. We do work people hard, but not that hard. And we have such fantastic resources across the university. So we have library staff who are fully trained in supporting how to research, how to find information, and then how to write in an academic style.
Can you take a question already? Helen has a question. If you already have a degree in one topic, can you do an apprenticeship combined with a degree in a different topic using the Apprenticeship Levy fund?
You certainly can. So the difference is, because we're postgraduate, an undergraduate degree is level 6, we are level 7. So if you already have a level 6 qualification in a management area, for example, you can then go and do an apprenticeship at level 7 in the same area, because it's progression. What wouldn't be funded is if you already had a postgraduate degree in an area of management or leadership, and then you wanted to do a management and leadership apprenticeship at level 7. Okay,
Dan's got a question, and Dan, thank you. And thank you, if you've not had a chance to ask a question, please just get going in the text chat and put that question to us. Dan is asking, I was studying a supply chain leadership apprenticeship degree, level 6, last year and completed it, was made redundant and deferred. I was told by the lead tutor I should be working at MSc level, although I do not have a degree. What's the application process to check that I'm eligible? This is Dan.
That's a really good question, Dan, and we would encourage people to contact us directly if they've got any really specific questions about their eligibility. From what you've shared with us, because you've undertaken at level 6, that's a lower level to the level that we're offering at level 7, so that you would be eligible for funding in this case, because it's progressing.
Well, Dan and Helen, that's really good news for both of you. So we're really glad that you joined the webinar, stuck around, we hope to see you. Dan is also saying, also, how do I find out more about this course, the Senior Leadership Apprenticeship and Logistics and Supply Chain? I guess you're in the right place. Dan's
Definitely.
in the right place.
We're going to cover all of the apprenticeships we offer within the School of Management portfolio later on in this webinar, and then I'm also going to tell you how to apply, which is the key information I think you're looking for.
Brilliant. Do continue with your slides. Yay.
Why choose our apprenticeships? And I believe my colleague Sian is going to talk about this.
Sian, tell us, why choose our apprenticeships? You're going to say it's obvious.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, why choose Cranfield? I think we've seen in the amazing introduction video that we shared, it really is about creating a culture in which different people can come together and thrive. I think part of the apprenticeship here is about the personal development, behaviour and attitudes element, so very much the equality, diversity, inclusion. I think those principles are really reflective of our academic staff population. We have people from around the world. Cranfield is known as a global institution, and all of that amazing knowledge and research has been invested into making sure the apprenticeship programmes both deliver the academic content that can then be used by the apprentice within the workplace. As you can see here, School of Management are ranked top 10 in the world. We have a fantastic teaching team, and we also have excellent pass rates on the Senior Leader Apprenticeship, which I believe this statistic is referring to. We also believe that Cranfield is really well known for its closeness to industry, and that was what makes it so suitable for an apprenticeship, because it's really aligning what the apprentice is doing in the workplace and how they're taking that study to develop themselves and have a really positive impact on what they're doing in work. So we talk a lot about the evidence portfolio and working on assignments that are relevant to the workplace, but something for me that I really like about the apprenticeships is the project work, the business proposals that you'll find in the School of Management School of Management apprenticeships, where it's solving issues that are really close to those apprenticeships in their own world, and a real return on investment for the employer. Next slide, please, Christina. Okay, so I think we've touched on some of these already. So we do have that blend of the management, technical and digital content across the university and also within the School of Management. Definitely related to problem-based learning. What is it that is happening in the organisations that could be solved by the skilled and ambitious individuals that our apprentices represent? We have the close collaboration with employers, and we have briefings for managers and apprentices. Similar to this, Christina runs some amazing sessions on really briefing how our line managers of those apprentices can support you through the work-based elements. So giving you wider opportunities to join in different pieces of project work, so you get that full experience in the workplace, particularly raising your visibility within your organisation, meeting people that perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do so. Full integration of professional skills is a really interesting and exciting offering from Cranfield. So there's sort of additional areas for professional skills which are offered to all of our apprentices and students, including academic skills tutors, real careers benefits, and apprenticeship tutors, which I think we're going to come on to next on the next slide, please, Christina. Okay. I'll tell you about apprenticeship tutors in a moment. So we have had an interesting academic year so far. We have had a education skills funding agency audit, so a financial assurance to make sure that we are using the levy correctly, supporting apprentices correctly on a timely basis, and that we have all the important documentation and evidence for each of our apprentices in place, and we were passed satisfactorily by the ESFA. And then in January, so very recently, we went through our full Ofsted inspection, which was the first at the university. We got a good rating across the board, so that's quality of teaching, the personal development, behaviour and attitudes, safeguarding. All of these different elements were rated as good by Ofsted. And one of the key things that I think we were particularly proud of was, again, that community piece. We had a really positive and high level of our employers, our apprentices and our staff communicating in, answering those surveys for Ofsted, and they commented on just how well and how highly everybody felt that their experience was, and that they were treated as that Cranfield community. So we do have a significant apprenticeship portfolio. What we're talking about today is our School of Management, so that is level 7, but we do have Milton Keynes University, MKU, which is expanding into the level 6 market also. So I think combining all of these elements together, we are really making great strides in being one of the premier apprenticeship providers in the country. Next slide, please. Okay, so apprenticeship tutor support. So this is one of the support features which I think works exceedingly well in Cranfield and in School of Management in particular. So you have an allocated apprenticeship tutor. So this person will speak to you on a one-to-one basis and hold important tripartite reviews. So your one-to-one meetings are those informal conversations. Your tripartite reviews are when it's yourself, your line manager and your tutor together. So it's a formal snapshot of progress. But I think what the apprenticeship tutor does really well is help the apprentice interpret what those all-important knowledge, skill, behaviour, competencies mean to that individual in their role, in their organisation, in their sector. So they have a wealth of knowledge, and I think they are a tribute to the success rate that the School of Management have. We think very highly of them, and as you can see here, we certainly like to celebrate our apprentices' success come graduation, and the apprenticeship tutors are a key part in that also. So thank you. Back over to you, Christina.
Sian, thank you. I've got a question. Dan and Angelique have a burning question. How often are we expected to be on campus as an apprentice?
Ooh, that's a bit of a tricky one. So it will depend on the apprenticeship programme being undertaken. So the majority of the School of Management portfolio apprenticeships do require you to be on campus. It's either each month or every 6 weeks for approximately 3 to 4 days. A sustainability apprenticeship is quite different in that you will be on campus for 3 to 4 days once per academic year. So you appear twice.
Right, twice a year.
Twice a year. And then the other learning is all live online teaching on a Friday. Okay. And that's because the course aims to be more sustainable as well. So less travel, online teaching, but it's all live.
That makes sense, and I'm involved in that program.
There's no camera off mute business on a Friday, oh no. There is full interaction required.
Okay, so Joe and Angelique have a follow-on question to that. How far in advance is the curricula, the timetable published, so they can plan?
It's always the question everyone wants to know. So we do have timetables. They're being developed now for our September starts. Mm-hmm. They are roughly the same for every intake, so we do have a very good idea of the pattern of which it would take. So we share the teaching dates or the learning dates with you. They may change slightly, but not in terms of date, but in terms of content being taught. So, should unfortunately one of our members of staff be ill and nobody can cover that topic, we'll just switch them around so that learning is still taking place, but we might just change the subject area.
And just one more question before you go back to the slides. And really, please, if you haven't asked a question, this is your chance. This is Tamar from Tbilisi. Accommodation. So when you're on campus, you get accommodation, you've got to book that well in advance. How does that work?
So accommodation isn't included in the apprenticeship fee, and that's because it's not a requirement of this apprenticeship programme. So maybe, for example, nursing, you might have to go off and do a fixed period in a certain hospital far from where you live, and because that is a requirement of the apprenticeship, accommodation may be included. Right. That's not the case for our apprenticeship programmes, unfortunately. However, we have fantastic accommodation on site. We've got 2 hotels within less than 5 minutes walk from that lecture room. So, lectures start at 8:30, which might feel a bit early. It's not an early start.
8:30 is the middle of the night. I want to hear from Libby and from Paul in a minute about the accommodation options that they've got. I know you've got a few more slides. Go through the slides and then we can open it out to a very broad debate.
So this is the apprenticeship portfolio that we offer. So I've talked about sustainability already, and this really is applicable to every sector. It's such a hot topic at the moment. It's a really popular programme, and our next intake will be in September 24. We've literally just welcomed our March intake. We welcomed them last week. Lots of excited faces, and I think they had a fantastic time on campus. We've got our Senior Investment and Commercial Banking Professional Apprenticeship. That's a really long title.
It is. What is that?
So this is all about banking. I'm not going to pretend that I know lots about banking.
Tell me about banking. No, don't.
I'm the wrong member of staff for that. But this is, we have lots of well-known banks attend. It is really interesting. It is a popular programme. We run this one normally once per year, and I believe the next intake is going to be in January, February 2025. It might seem really far away, but actually by the time you've gone through, exploring what it means, doing the application process, registering, etc., these times do come around really quickly. So now is the time to start thinking about September onward starts. We've got our Senior People Professional Apprenticeship. So this is designed specifically for HR professionals who might have been in the business for some time but are looking to upskill and develop their careers. Maybe take that step from HR business partner up to senior manager, director level. So that is taking place, I believe, in November this year is our next cohort. We've got the Senior Leader Apprenticeship plus Executive MBA. So this one, the first part is the Senior Leader Apprenticeship. That's part one, fully funded by the levy, and it's 14,000. There is the option then to continue on and obtain the remainder of the credits required to get an Executive MBA.
Wow. So how many qualifications do you get as a result of that? Is it 2?
So in that one you get 3 essentially.
3?
So you get the apprenticeship. So part one is the apprenticeship. You can continue study, either yourself or your employer can fund that part 2 because it's outside of the apprenticeship. And that would take you to the Executive MBA. And then the endpoint assessment organisations who assess part 1 also provide certificates as well.
Wow, 3 in 1.
3 in 1, why wouldn't you?
Okay, I want to hear again from the students about the commitments involved, but yeah, why wouldn't you?
We also have a Senior Leader Executive Programme. So this one is really interesting in that they tend to have higher numbers from single employers. So they might have a consortium, or the programme might be for a single employer. So this works really well for really large employers where they've got managers kind of spread all over the country, but they want them to bring them together to create, develop and change maybe where the organisation is going and really create that collaborative thinking. It's a really interesting programme, and we run several cohorts a year, and I do believe that if organisations are interested in having their own cohort, they can almost dictate when it starts. We can talk about what month because it would be designed and delivered just
as a closed cohort. So you'd be a fantastic way to network within the organisation.
Yes, yeah, and that happens actually. We get apprentices turn up and they'll be there on registration day and they'll be on a table and they'll be sharing which organisation they work with. And then we've had before, people are like, oh, we work for the same organisation, but when there's thousands and thousands of employees within the organisation, they're at different locations, it's bound to happen. But yeah, we did enjoy that. We also have other options for the Senior Leader Apprenticeship. So as I talked about that part 1, so part 1 is the apprenticeship, that Senior Leader Apprenticeship, and then there's these different opportunities to continue on study and obtain MSCs either in Management and Leadership. So we're just about to start a cohort there. We've got Marketing and Leadership, again a cohort is just about to start, so the next opportunities are September, October this year. And then we also have Logistics and Supply Chain Management as well. So a real variety and something that should suit everyone there.
Wow, so what's the next steps? What should people be doing?
Next steps. So we are just about to launch our delivery for September onwards. So we want to tell all our current employers, those who have already completed that expression of interest with us, we're going to tell them what we're going to be delivering. If you haven't completed that expression of interest and you want to find out, that is your next step.
Okay.
So on all of the course pages, there will be an expression of interest button. It asks you to complete some details. Most important one is that key contact. Who in the business needs those application links to share amongst all those that they want to apply? That's who should be the key contact. It might also ask for things like safeguarding or when your insurances are renewing, that sort of thing. So we are required to collect all that information. If you're not sure on any of those answers, just get in touch and we can help you and support you.
I'm sure deadlines are also on the webpage as well.
They will be shortly, just because we have starts within the next couple of weeks. We've got the old deadlines for those starts because they've not quite started yet. We're getting there, but over the next 2 or 3 weeks, all the course pages will be updated with the latest deadlines.
Brilliant.
And it's normally an application deadline is normally around 8 weeks before the course starts.
Are you available, and I think you're going to say you are, for support? I don't know whether it's this one or this one. Can you help me decide? How do people
So
get help?
I'm the first point of contact. So we've got a team email address, which is apprenticeships@cranfield.ac.uk. So if you're not sure which programme or you want to find out more about a couple of programmes, get in touch and I will ensure that your inquiry goes on to the right course team. And we have so many helpful people in the School of Management who will talk you through each of the course programmes, the entry requirements, what the outcomes are, really in depth. And we do have webinars for each apprenticeship programme as well. Whether we've had them previously, we can share recordings with you, or whether we've got one that's coming up and you can join in live.
Brilliant. And that's a prompt for me, actually, because we have quite a few of those people in the text chat already. Some of you will have had responses from Felicity and from Cranfield School of Management. So thank you. Welcome, colleagues. Please take the advantage to contact those people in the text chat now. They may be able to answer the questions that you have. So what else should we be doing? The maths and English?
Yeah,
Find
so
your certificates? What if you can't find your certificates?
It's not a problem.
It's not a
So,
problem.
Not a problem.
I knew you'd say that.
Not a problem. Nothing's ever a problem.
Not
at
a
Cranfield.
problem.
We can always help and advise. So you submit your academic application in the first instance, and then that zips its way over to the apprenticeships office, and we then confirm if you are eligible for apprenticeship funding.
Right.
There are additional funding rules over and above academic entry requirements for an apprenticeship, and that's because we're using government funds to fund a study, a programme of study, and that's the apprenticeship programme. So once we've, have you lived in the UK for 3 years? Are you working at least 50% of your time in England? You're not on another apprenticeship programme. You're not going to take out a student loan. You might be a student, but you're not quite a full student, so you can't have that student loan. All those sorts of things, we check that. And then you talked about maths and English. So the Education and Skills Funding Agency do deem maths and English an essential skill, and we'd agree to at Cranfield, and it features heavily in lots of our apprenticeship programmes, whether that might be engineering, or you're doing accountancy within senior leader apprenticeships. You do need those skills. And English features in absolutely every element of every apprenticeship, because you're writing those assignments, you're doing those presentations, group work, etc., all of those sorts of things. So we assess your current working levels at entry, and we do ask if you can find your equivalent to level 2, so GCSE grade C or higher. If you've got those certificates, fantastic. Studied overseas, send us those certificates as well. If you didn't obtain them because you're having a great time at 16, we will provide you with guidance on how to obtain
I don't know where mine
a
are.
suitable qualification. Well, there's two types of people in the world, Toby. There's those that have not seen them since results day at school. You collected them, where are they now?
Yeah.
Never seen them again. And there's those people that have them in the original envelopes that they were provided with. See, I'm that person.
You're that person, so we're the opposite. Two types of people. Just if you take nothing else from this webinar, that's it.
So we will help you with it. If you've lost them, it's not a
No
problem.
big
We
deal.
can provide you guidance on how to get copies, etc., all those sorts of things. So, and that can all be done once you're on programme.
Wow, that's really helpful.
The last thing is we do ask for your employer to support you. I'm sure you'll have had many conversations internally about your application, why you're going to be undertaking the apprenticeship, and we send a form to your employer to ask them to complete that. And it's a few paragraphs, so I think there's 3 paragraph sections in there for them to complete, and it should take maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's just about you and how they're going to support you, and they return that as part of your application process. And once we've done that, we'll be in a position to make an offer.
Wow. You can't say, how long does that whole process take? It's almost impossible to say, right?
It kind of is, because it depends how many applications we get in at one time.
Right.
So if you apply at a really busy time, obviously it will take us longer to process them, because we read each application individually. We don't mass process anything. So when you complete your academic application, there'll be a paragraph that you have to write about why do you want to undertake this programme? How is it going to benefit you? What are your motivations? And that is read by the course director.
Right.
We then look at previous qualifications. Are you overqualified, underqualified? Maybe if you've never been to university before, you might have an interview as part of the application process, just to check, what are your motivations? How are you preparing? Is there any further support that we would need to offer you when you're on programme?
Online interview, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
They used to be face-to-face, and then COVID happens,
good
and now
old-
we're all online.
Everything's
all online.
online.
Yeah.
Wow.
So depending on all those things, we would hope to be able to return applications within that kind of 6 to 8 week mark, but depends on how many we've got in.
I got a question. I got a ton of questions. I'm sure you have. If you've not had a chance, please type those questions into the text chat. I guess my question, and Sean, I might come to you. I want to come to the students very shortly. But Sean, I'm not sure if there's any tips that you would give in terms of that application process. Sian, can you walk us through that?
Thinking about tips for it, I think it's really important to take a step back, I think, from your everyday and think about what's the distance travelled, what do you hope to achieve by taking on this significant piece of work, and where would you like it to take you? And I think that would be a really good mindset to have whilst you're completing those personal statements that Christina has detailed for us.
Okay, Sian, thank you. Stick around. I want to come, if I can, to Libby and to Paul, because Libby and Paul are pretty much your chance to find out, well, what's it really like? Libby and Paul, there you are. You've heard everything from Christina and from Sian, and you've seen a lot of lovely slides. Good to see you. Libby, first of all, you. Tell us about your background. Where are you coming from and what are you studying?
Hi, so I'm Libby and I am a level 7 logistics and supply chain plus the senior leadership apprenticeship. I work at MBDA, which is based in Stevenage. I'm from St Albans, grew up in St Albans, and I did a level 6 business management degree apprenticeship with MBDA. So I've worked there now for about 4.5 years. And yeah, I started the master's apprenticeship in October just gone.
And you love apprenticeships, not just doing
Yes.
one, doing two.
Clearly.
Wow. Paul, well, let's introduce you first of all. What are you studying, and tell us a bit about your background.
I spent best part of 18 years in supply chain and logistics and wanted to take the next step into senior leadership in a new business that I joined. And this was available to me, so I took that option. I'm studying the senior executive management and MSc for the master's degree as well. That's where I'm at really. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
And you look like you're in some sort of Elon Musk suite there overlooking the sea. You're just up the road from Cranfield with University, if I understand that correctly.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, I live in Northampton, so I'm not far from Cranfield, and have worked with Cranfield in the past. So that kind of led me to when I was provided by my business 2 options, Cranfield being one of them, and I can't even remember what the other option was. The easy choice for me was Cranfield because I've studied on and off with Cranfield for many years.
Wow.
I did the foundation supply chain management course many moons ago, and now this, and it's always been a great place to visit.
You're our new best friend, Paul. More on that commitment later on. That whole thing about coming to Cranfield, to the campus, is that a big deal for you? It doesn't sound like it because you're just up the road.
I mean, it's not a big play. I mean, because I am just down the road, I can't stay. So, every company is completely different. But because it's so close to home, there's no expense account on that one for work, I'm afraid. So, it's a travel there and back. I don't mind the drive, and it also allows me to be at home in the evenings with my family. So it's not a massive block gap. But no, I thoroughly enjoy going into uni for a week and having that experience of actually being a student. I never got that experience as a kid. I left school and went straight into work and have done ever since. And that was probably one of the other things that led me into the degree type level 7 apprenticeship that was on offer.
So coming back to higher education or into your higher education for the first time, didn't put you off? That wasn't worrisome for you?
No, because it's something I've always wanted. So I was driven by my own desires to get stuff out of this. And I think you really need that. Because the guys have all said how challenging and difficult it is. And, they're not lying. It is challenging and difficult. But the passion that I've got for wanting to learn and push and drive myself is what takes you through the course. It's self-propulsion, I guess, because it's so hard.
So Libby, tell us about that. Is it challenging? Paul's just making it up, right?
Yeah, it's obviously, I think it's probably a lot harder than just going to university and studying the degree by itself. I've not done it, so I can't obviously vouch for that. But you know, knowing what I know about what the classic university degree involves and the level of commitment that my friends around me made, is certainly different. That's for sure. I think it's quite hard for me to say that it's really challenging because I'm so used to it now. This is my 5th year doing apprenticeship work that it just feels like the everyday. I think it would be bizarre for me to not be doing apprenticeship stuff. I've literally had a month break between my EPA from my previous apprenticeship and then actually starting my first day at Cranfield. So I've not stopped since 2019. So you do get used to it, I have to say. I mean, obviously the master's apprenticeship isn't as long, and it's, for me, mine is 2 years long. And so yeah, it's not as long as 5 years. But yeah, you do get used to it, and as long as you're organised and you can stay on top of your deadlines, I don't find it that difficult. But also, I have to say, my employer is very, very supportive, and I do actually get a day off every single week to do that uni work. So my course is done in chunks. So as Christina mentioned previously, I will be at Cranfield for a week, so the 5 days. So my last session was in January, and then my next sessions are in April. They're slightly differently structured actually in April, but you kind of just go, you do all the lectures. It is intense, I have to say, especially the first week. I was like, whoa, this is a lot, because my undergraduate wasn't done that way. It was done as a day and a half a week, and you were actually going to lectures, seminars on that day or day and a half, and then that was kind of like your study time, and we had sort of hours in between, or like afternoons, evenings within that day to, you know, do the actual assignments themselves. Whereas my master's is quite different in that way structurally, because you kind of do the intense week. You're definitely not doing anything in the evenings, like clear your evenings, because it is exhausting. It's a lot. But I actually really like that structure, because I personally am quite an organised person. It means that if you are organised and you stay on top of things, it's up to you when you get these things done. So if I, you know, had the week in January, and you can start your assignment the very next week. And as I say, I'm really lucky because my company gives me that day a week. So I work 4 days a week, and then on Fridays I have a uni day. So that following week on the Friday, I can then make a start on the actual work. And obviously the quicker you get the work done and submitted, the quicker you can wash your hands of it and wait till the next session. So I think organisation is probably one of the big things. And if you're not very organised, I would say you need to get organised if you want to do apprenticeship. Have that in mind.
Libby, you're half person, half machine. It's amazing. Paul, can I come back to you? You seem like an overachiever,
please.
because you've also done 2 apprenticeships. Tell us about that workload and the commitment that Libby talked about there for you.
Yeah, so I've had a bit of a longer gap. I did a level 3 apprenticeship leading up to this, to set myself in the position that I needed to again drive myself forward in the career that I wanted to have. I want to be a senior leader. I want to, hopefully one day, if I can achieve it, run a business. And Cranfield was my stepping stone towards that. Libby's right. It's all about prioritising your time, prioritising your work. And everybody on my cohort is finding it marginally different based on the level of responsibility they have in the workplace. I'm also equally really lucky. I don't quite get a full day, Libby, but I get plenty of support from my work. To take
Libby, you got it easy.
No,
yeah, I do,
it's still challenging. It's still challenging.
Easier for sure.
But again, it also depends on where you sit in that ladder of the work run as well, because we've got a couple of guys in my cohort who are, you know, up there, senior execs, that are, you know, struggling with the time, and then you've got other people in the cohort that have a bit more time than others. But I think the best thing for me is having somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Sean, the cohort groups, and the WhatsApp chats, and people to lean on and support you, not just from the Cranfield, but actually from your group, and you start building bonds and friendships that extend outside of uni. And I think for me that's been a massive win, always having those people who are going through it at the same time as you are to lean on and just reach out to, not just necessarily in your learning group either. I'm quite fortunate to be in a cohort of, I think it's 37, 39 candidates, and we all get along. It's a really, really strong group, and we're enjoying the time together, and it's been brilliant. Challenging but brilliant.
Challenging but brilliant. Sian, can I come to you, please? What are you thinking, Sian, in terms of what Paul and Libby have said? What sort of commitment are we looking at here?
Well, I think both are right. You know, you have to have that commitment, you have to be organised, you have the support that you need. Support is out there from peers, from the university, from employers, but I think there is an element of go-getting for yourself there.
Good, just like Libby said, just do it.
Yeah.
But get your employer support by the sound of it. Christina, you would agree that it's hugely important to get the employer support. Otherwise, you're not going to get there.
Yeah, and there is kind of varying levels, as we've just heard. Libby is getting a full day off per week, so that's really generous on top of her study time with Cranfield.
Paul is jealous.
I think a little bit, yeah.
Very.
But the employers are required to meet that off-the-job total, and every apprentice will have an individualised off-the-job target that they have to meet, and the employer must give them that time. The employer signs the document as well to say that they will have that. So it is flexible, it is an average, but we do expect certain milestones to be met throughout the programme. And if there is any problems in achieving that, an apprentice isn't getting the time they need or they're struggling, we always want them to say something, because we want them to succeed as much as they do, if not more so. So we have the apprenticeship tutors. They are absolutely fantastic, and I feel that they're one of the key reasons for our such high success rates for our apprentices, is because they drive them along. They are their cheerleader, they are their support mechanism, and they're almost kind of that, that the apprentice isn't quite sure, is it a question that they have? So they go to their apprenticeship tutor first, and then their tutor can kind of, yes, definitely go to the apprenticeships office or your course team, or this is how we can support you. Go to your employer. Let's have a conversation with your mentor or line manager in the workplace, or, and all of our apprenticeship tutors have that industry experience as well. And I think that really helps them share their inside knowledge and help the apprentice progress forward. And that's a real element of support as well. And I think it helps the employer with their understanding too.
That's good to hear. Paul, can I come back to you and ask you, if you're willing to share, commitment in terms of life? How do you fit that in? Because you've got an ordinary life, you've got other things to do. How do you fit it in?
Challenging is the right word to use. And again, Sian hit the nail on the head. It's about being personally driven. So I've got two children. My son's approaching 20 and off in the RAF, and my daughter is 10. But during this time, lots of things have changed in our lives. Life keeps going on, keeps throwing obstacles at you. I run a baseball club in my spare time. I am also a club leader for a bunch of young kids. So yeah, I'm a very, very busy man outside of work, and then having a full-time job on top of it, which is the best part of all, because like you said, you're getting paid to do this apprenticeship program, and being fortunate enough to have that luxury of the support from my work, you have to find the time. I probably get 6 hours a week in my personal time at work to do some of this stuff, and then you just, if you want it, you go after it and make the time.
Libby, it sounds like you do what Paul just said.
Asked.
Thank you, Paul. You sound like, Libby, you just do it, right? Are you finding yourself working your weekends as well? How do you fit it all in?
I think because I do get the day a week, it's quite rare, and it would only end up being if it was a particularly busy period at work. I think, as Paul said, it's same with my cohort. They're absolutely brilliant, and it's been a fantastic kind of networking opportunity for me as well, because I'm quite young, just starting off in my career, and to meet all of these people who have years of experience is just absolutely fantastic. And it is interesting to hear their struggles as well, because they have families and maybe in fact definitely more demanding jobs than I have, and are quite possibly 20 rungs higher than I am. So it is a lot easier to do when you're young. So I would say that if you are sort of in your 20s and you're thinking, oh, do I do it now or do I wait till I've got more experience? In my personal opinion, I would say just do it, get it done. The quicker you get it done, the easier it is. And also, but everything's sort of fresh for me in the way of how to write an assignment. I have a lot of my colleagues in my cohort coming to me to ask for like referencing advice and some sort of structural advice, because it can be quite tricky. That's actually a good kind of chunk of how the actual assignments are kind of graded, and it's not as simple as it sounds. But to have it all fresh and you know, I've literally just been doing it for the last 4 years, so it's a lot easier just to kind of jump straight back into it than it is to wait a long time. I'm sure, you know, Paul will attest to that it's harder when you wait. So I would just say jump into it, take the risk, and like Paul said, you just need to kind of dedicate yourself to it, and if you're passionate about it, it shouldn't be too difficult.
Libby, thank you. There's a key question from Kim, because Libby was just talking about being young there. Kim is asking, is there a threshold for being considered overqualified? And if so, what routes could be advised as alternatives? Sian or Christina?
So I'll pick up on that one. Sian might want to add on to that. But overqualified is going to be somebody who's already got a master's degree in the same subject area. So if you've already got a level 7 qualification in banking, then you wouldn't be eligible for a banking apprenticeship, but you would be eligible for the senior leader apprenticeship because your qualification is in a different subject area. In terms of experiential learning, when apprentices start, they do what's called an initial assessment, and we rate their prior learning. And then if they are overqualified or appear overqualified, we do have a discussion with them, because sometimes people like to tell us that they're absolutely fantastic and they kind of over-egg themselves as part of the application process. So we get the course team to have a discussion with them. Is this really where you're at? If they are, then unfortunately we do let them know that they're not eligible. Sometimes they might just need to think about how, you know, are you really at this level? Maybe not quite yet. Maybe you will be at the end of the apprenticeship programme. So we get them to really think about it. It might need a revisit from them and their line manager after a conversation with the course director, and then we go from there.
Sian, anything to add to that? Overqualification?
No, I don't think so. No, I think Christina's covered everything. I think, you know, you don't want to start a programme like this and be able to walk through it. It's got to stretch you and challenge you. That's the point of it.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think that's a really big comment as well, actually, because it works the other way. You could be underqualified and it could be too daunting.
Yeah. Not in your case, Paul, but you can see it. Mr. Two Apprenticeships, two amazing ambassador students. There's a question here, and hopefully we can get through to most of these, from LA, asking about intakes for the MBA aspects of it. On your website, it looks as though the programme for 2024 already has commenced. Is there an autumn intake as well? Can you shed a bit of light on the MBA aspects of that?
Yes, so I think my colleague Jen, who is on chat, will be furiously
Jen,
typing out right now about our September start. But yes, our March intake is going to start on the 20th. We're really excited to welcome all of those. So applications for that intake have now closed. However, we will be opening applications for our September intake very shortly, so that'll be in the next few weeks. And yes, September 2024 is our next intake.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've only got a few more minutes left, and I'm going to come, Sian, to you first. People thinking about applying, what should they do in a few minutes we have remaining?
I would look at some of the information on the Cranfield website, and I would take that to your line manager,
Libby,
to your talent and development coordinator, and go and discuss internally, and then make an inquiry over to apprenticeships@cranfield.ac.uk, and we can discuss with you or our fellow colleagues in the School of Management.
Brilliant, thank you. Libby, hopefully, I think, Paul, you might have dropped out, but Libby, if you're still there, put yourself in the shoes of someone thinking of doing this. Briefly, what recommendation do you have for them? Just do it, you're going to say.
I would say just do your research, have a look at what's out there, think about what the commitment is going to look like, because if you are really, really busy at work and you've got a massive project coming up potentially, you know, that's not the best time to do it. But it is an amazing opportunity, and you never know when that opportunity might pass on. And I would just say sort of go grab it with both hands, especially if someone is literally offering it to you. And if they're not, which in my case, it wasn't kind of brought to me, it was something that I actually requested, just something I'd found out about. Just basically ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And if you're worried about asking, you know, just obviously approach your manager first, ask them to escalate it. And more often than not, especially if your employer is already paying into the apprenticeship levy, they'll be glad to support you and make you a better member of their team. I mean, who wouldn't want that? So I would definitely just say ask and just jump into it.
Wow, I knew you'd say that, but Libby, thank you very much indeed. We have run out of time. We only have 40 seconds left. Thank you, Libby. Thank you so much. Paul, if you're still with us, thank you so much indeed. And Sian, thank you. Everyone get in touch with either Sian or Christina. Christina, thank you for taking the time to be in the studio with us today. We want to hear from you if it's not obvious already. The studio managers today were Chris Ripley, Marco Gomez and Robin Hackett. The producer was Tammy Argent-Peters. My name is Toby Thompson. Thank you for watching.